Hi everybody, this is Ty Williams with a celebrity psychic reading on a WWE wrestler named Asuka. And some of you want to request a reading on Asuka and see what is next for Asuka after she vacated the belt um, in NXT. So she is undefeated, but she has to vacate the title, the women's title in NXT. So let me get into intuition and see what's next for Asuka after she um, relinquish the NXT title on yeah, so let's see. I see she's injured. I feel like um, she is working on her injuries. I see she is nervous and worried about the main roster. I see um, Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, especially Stephanie McMahon. I feel like Stephanie McMahon love Asuka um, in many ways. I feel like she can work well with Asuka. I do see um, she giving us the best advice of how to um, do things not only in the ring but backstage politics. So I feel like Asuka is very worried of backstage politics because um, her English is not that very good. So she worried about how the fans gonna treat her, or how the people in the behind the scenes gonna treat her because she lack English. And also she's had this fear of like how they're gonna book her in the main roster, how she gonna do well in the main roster. Because if you notice, Shinsuke Nakamura is like everyone's um, favorite wrestler, top favorite wrestler, and how WWE book Shinsuke is just a hot mess. And she sees that the ones who are very popular in NXT, they just like nothing. It's kind of like they're not in where they at like they was in NXT. And I think that's her fear. And I feel like she is protecting what she had in NXT and hoping that people will accept her. And I feel like she has some insecurities about what the main roster want for women wrestlers. They want women wrestlers to be like Eva Marie, model and pretty, don't have no wrestling talent, but want to be eye candy, want to be pretty. Asuka is she to me she's beautiful. She to me she's pretty, but Asuka is not eye candy. Asuka is more of a wrestler, not a woman wrestler, a wrestler. Why she hold that title for like 500 days or something? She's all about wrestling, and so she's afraid that she will get too discouraged on how women wrestlers and wrestlers in general get discouraged, because Then in Vince's world of the main roster, um, Vince shoots guys who are eye candy, who is big, who is muscular, you know, and who is hot. Look at John Cena. John Cena is hot and he's muscular and he make money and Vince like that stuff. But the thing with Vince do the same thing as women wrestlers. Like um, they like women wrestlers who are eye candy. Also, they like women wrestlers who sells, like Bailey sells merchandises. But there is a problem with the booking, and Asuka don't want to fall in that trap. And I do see um, she is um, pretty shy when it comes to new people and new environment. And I think that's why she's kind of like debating of which route to do of entering the main roster. And there are lots of ideas for Asuka um, to be debuting in the main roster. And I feel like when she got injured, it gave her enough time to revamp her image and her style in wrestling. Like her style in wrestling is dope. Don't get me wrong, but it's like they want her to do this, but she want to do that, and I feel like she trying to um, look at certain talents that fits her style of wrestling, or um, to see who need to approve, because Asuka is all about making a name for herself, all about knowing her true style in wrestling, and she's not about that uh, um, pretty face syndrome. She all about whooping ass. Um, I feel like Stephanie McMahon is working with an angle or a storyline on Asuka, kind of like Stone Cold Steve Austin versus her father Vince McMahon 2.0. And I feel like they're gonna do that, like having Stephanie McMahon and Asuka as rivals. And the reason she could fit the Austin role, because Austin is a badass. He drink beer, booze, flick people off. Asuka more like, I'm just gonna rip arms, beat bitches up, tear down anyone that stands in my way. That's Asuka, and I think that they could pull it off with the Stephanie McMahon versus Asuka, like kind of make her to look weak, and I love it. Or I feel like they're gonna have her with Paul Heyman because of her lack of English. Like she could speak decent English, but she has to have like someone like a translator or a manager to make her feel like she's invisible. But I just have a feeling that Stephanie McMahon and her gonna have one of the biggest feuds. And I feel like Stephanie McMahon see in Asuka that that's money. That's money. And I feel like Stephanie McMahon wants to prove her father wrong about woman wrestler. I feel like she is showing. I feel like Stephanie McMahon is showing her father that there are people like Asuka who could break it down in a match. Um, but the problem, like the females in the main roster, don't have what Asuka have. That sense of in-ring ability. Asuka got the best in-ring ability hands down in the wrestling world. It's like if they put Asuka with Alexa Bliss. The problem with Alexa Bliss, she don't have enough in-ring ability. But however, Alexa Bliss have that mic skill ability and that um, intelligent ability in her match. Like you can see that Alexa Bliss is not the best wrestler in the ring, but she's very skillful in knowledge what her wrestler opponent weakness. You know, she did with Bailey. Um, she did with Sasha. And another thing about Sasha Banks, I feel like Sasha Banks want want to be the first one to wrestle Asuka. She really do. Like she really kind of like pushing the people in backstage or the manager of her and Asuka have a feud. And I feel like Sasha think that I could beat Asuka. And Asuka like, no, not really. Not really. Like, I beat Nia Jax. I beat Bailey. Um, I beat many people in NXT. But Asuka's like, no. But I would say that Becky Lynch will have a feud with her in SmackDown because I feel like they're gonna put her in SmackDown so she could understand the backstage politics um, in SmackDown before going to Raw because I feel like Steph McMahon and Triple H is very protected of Asuka right now. Not only Triple H and Steph McMahon, I feel like there are a few people is very protective of Asuka because they see that Asuka is something unique and something special. I feel that if Asuka go to the main roster, if it either in SmackDown or Raw, the females have to put their game face on. Like they have to deal with Asuka. You know, like she hold a title for 500 days. You know, and they need to bring their game up. But I do see Asuka versus Charlotte in WrestleMania in the main event, having Stephanie McMahon involved, and that would be awesome. But I feel like Stephanie McMahon is trying to revamp her image as well. And one thing I like about Stephanie, I feel like Stephanie is trying to think outside the box. I feel like Stephanie is trying to do the Cersei of Game of Thrones into her WWE angle with Asuka. Like like Stephanie trying to be like the master manipulator, trying to get into Asuka's head. And I think that's what the storyline gonna be. It's gonna be like Asuka feuding with Steph McMahon. And I could see that happen. If they book it right about Asuka not being like too boring and all that stuff, if they book it right, people watch. People make Asuka a star. Like, let me tell you something. Asuka is already a star. It's just that how they're gonna book it, how they're gonna make it as a storyline about Asuka character. And I feel like Steph McMahon is gonna step in and be like the villain, And at first, Asuka gonna come out as somewhat like in the beginning when she entered NXT for the first time, and it'd be cool for her just to walk into the office of Stephanie McMahon or walk outside the office of Stephanie McMahon to get a reaction with the Bobby Roode debut when he went to Real Regal office and people reacted to it. But they're gonna do something very interesting on Asuka because they cannot mess it up, because I feel like everybody is watching and everybody's like, don't fuck it up, WWE. Asuka is our last hope, and she is the last hope on the NXT curse. Will she flunk or will she swim? And I feel like she could do it. It's just like, just give time to let her think of something out. And I think that her injuries is a blessing of disguise, because if she was not injured, they will book her right now and mess up everything for her. So it's best for her to just like kind of have a peace of mind. Talk to Stephanie McMahon. I feel like Stephanie McMahon is giving her lots of good advice, and Triple H too, and other people as well. But also I feel like she need to be careful with certain females, with the backstage politics. Like, be very, very careful, because females can be catty. If she hit them hard, that get Vince McMahon to be more like strict on Asuka. But other than that, she need to be careful about her unhealthy habits of certain things in her body. Just relax, Asuka. You're on top of the world. Just focus on your injury, heal, meditate. Just be mindful of what you gonna be in the main roster, and you're gonna be okay. So this is Ty Williams. Good day and goodbye.